Hi, how are you today? I wanted to check in. I was thinking today, I've been thinking this week about change because I'm creating a presentation for a local business group that I'm a member of. And I've decided to do it around change and thought it might be a great thing to just touch base with. I know I've talked about it before and have written blogs on it, but it's always good to hear it again is to touch base a little bit around, the struggle with change because many of us, and I know even myself can have some fear around change. And then even once we create change, maybe have a hard time sustaining it and maintaining it. And really, it all is around how our brains work and some of the stuff our brains does to keep us safe, some of the limiting beliefs that we've developed over the years are either around change or around the things we want to change, around habits we may want to change. So, um, to first talk about the brain and how it wants to protect us is the brain is built on kind of keeping us safe and keeping what we consider a healthy status quo. So change actually develops can create fear in us, and when that fear comes up, the brain says, "Oh no, 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 that's dangerous. We need to keep you safe." And the brain has this built in automatically through thousands of years ago when we were uh, you know, um, hunters and gatherers and trying to be safe and worried about, danger from, wild animals and whatever that may be. The brain is built, is wired to look out for dangerous things and to keep us safe and protect us from it. So as soon as we have a little fear around something such as change, whether it be a major change in a situation we're in, or like whether it's in our writing, our lives, our business, whatever it may be, or just changing a habit that's kind of something that we don't really feel we get the best results from, but it's our comfortable place. As soon as that fear rises up, the brain says, "Oh no, we want to protect you." So it makes change really hard, right? Because automatically we go to, let's stay in the safe place. So um, it's kind of figuring out what's going on that's creating the belief that this is a safe place, and then helping shift that mindset so that we can find um, a better results, better ways of thinking that will help change happen. And once the brain connects to that, then the brain will start seeing that as the new safe place. So depending upon what you're trying to change, whether you're trying to change a habit, it could be, and say in riding around, say take a physical thing, like you um, have fingers, open fingers, and you have a belief that open fingers create a soft ride. So maybe there's some thinking of, if I close my fingers on the reins, that's going to cause a problem. So that kind of creates a doubt, a fear, maybe not a deep fear, but a doubt in the change. And the brain is going, okay, let's stay in that safe place because the fingers open has been what's always happened, and that's the perceived automatic way of doing things, the safe place. So you once you kind of say, all right, I'm going to ride with my fingers closed a few times and see the benefits, or watch others and see the benefits of fingers being closed, and really bringing that into awareness so that you're not thinking about the brain, the automatic brain doesn't take over, but you're really thinking, oh, I see the benefits of that. And you do that enough, then the brain will start to automatically help you close your fingers, but you have to keep reminding yourself of it. You have to think about it because the brain's wired into being automatic in the other direction, this open finger thing. Or taking it around a fear of something, a fear of making mistakes, right? Okay, I want to change this habit loop, and I want to let go of feeling like every time I ride, I have to be perfect. So that's a change that you want to do. And again, being perfect is what's you making a mistake and being perfect, staying perfect, doing everything perfectly is considered safe. Making a mistake is considered unsafe. The brain sees that. So you constantly, it's a limiting belief that somewhere along your life you've picked up, but it's become automated in your brain. The brain sees that, excuse me, and says, this is a safe place. We always have to be perfect. We always have to be perfect. But then if you can start tapping into, well, what might happen if I open myself up to making mistakes? What are the limiting beliefs around this? I'm afraid of making mistakes. Digging a little deeper, understanding, getting an awareness around what's going on. Not trying to change anything, just getting awareness around what's going on. And then seeing the results of your habit loop, you wanting to be perfect, the behavior, always getting upset, frustrated, whatever it may be around that mistake, and then seeing that and saying, oh, I get frustrated. It's not so good when I do this. I get upset, I get disappointed, then I make more mistakes, and I don't learn from my mistakes. So starting to notice, getting an awareness, that's where mindfulness can help, in pausing, no judgment around it. What is it I want to change? What's going on? What's underneath all this? What's underneath the habit I want to change? And then what kind of results am I getting from it? Is it working for me, or is it not? And then thinking, well, what might be a better option? And really then trying to replace that. But again, you have to be very conscious about it. Understand the habit, understand where it's coming from, be kind to yourself, be curious about what's going on. It's really important to do that. I highly recommend, and I mentioned this book a lot. It's kind of a really go-to for me, Unwinding Anxiety, and it doesn't really, you don't need to be anxious to get a lot from it. It's by Dr. Judson Brewer, and he talks about habit loops and how they happen and what goes on, and he talks about the 3 gears of awareness, understanding the discomfort and the pain that you get from a certain habit, and then thinking about what's that, he calls it the bigger, better offer. What's that thing that you want to replace it with? And you really need to go through this process and be kind and understand it takes time. Get that awareness when you feel the welling up of, oh, I'm uncomfortable about change. It might be just change in general. You might be someone who's just not comfortable with change in general. So that when you're trying to change something, even it may be as simple as something, um, in your house, like changing the furniture around, and you're like, no, I only, everything stays the same. I can't change. I don't want to do something different. Understanding what's behind that, what happens, what's going on behind that idea of I'm uncomfortable to change, or you're riding your horse and and want to maybe change a piece of equipment, but oh no, I've always used this. I shouldn't try something different. Now, if you do want to change a piece of equipment, okay, you really want to have a good thought behind why, but maybe there's good reason behind it, but you're still uncomfortable to make that change because you're so used to always doing something the same way. And so what is behind that? Really starting to get an awareness and not beating yourself up for it, being curious about when these kind of resistance come up in you, noticing where you feel things in your body. Um, and I know, like right now, people are starting to think, oh, it's, the new year's coming up. I want to create big changes, and then they get disappointed because they create some huge change. So also learning to get comfortable with small changes, get comfortable with, if there's a habit you have that you're struggling with, making changes around that habit in a small way, and kind of slowly start retraining your brain that, oh, this is the better offer. This does have more benefits to me. And the more you do that, the more your brain will start to connect to that. So doing it in small ways. I'm going to share something that I've been doing. I've struggled with my weight most of my life and have been on all sorts of diets and things like that. And actually in May, but it's been about a year. In May, I got on Weight Watchers, and I've done it before. And I'd started losing some weight before that through some other changes I'd made in my life. and decided, oh, you know what, I want to keep this process up and I'm going to go on Weight Watchers, but I'm not going to do it with this big, huge, I've got to lose all this weight and this big, huge goal. It's just like, you know what, I'm really going to be kind to myself and gentle with myself and let these changes be small. And if I go up a little bit in weight, that's okay. Back on that, on the path that I was on, and no judgment around it. And you know what? I've steadily lost weight and I do not feel at all like I'm on this huge diet, this huge, you know, uh, overwhelming change. It's just something that I've made simple, little bit by little bit. And it's the same thing you can do. Don't think that changes have to be huge leaps. If you can be kind, understand what's blocking you to your changes, understand what gets in your way once you make change, kind of like being aware, saying with me with my dad, oh, I ate, away a whole bunch of, ice cream, and I want to beat myself up, over it. And instead just go, what was around that? And I've noticed with me, it's when I'm tired or overwhelmed, and it's kind of, that comfort thing. And then if I do eat a little bit too much, think, okay, what could I do differently next time? Don't need to say I don't have any, but can I just modify things? So that's the same way with you with your riding changes. If you want to bring this into your life, thank you. I see there's some comments um, about the whole COVID burnout, and I agree. It really is. It really is right now. Change is tough with the whole COVID thing. We were thrown into change with that, right? So that was overwhelming in itself. So thinking, how can I be kind to myself, and um, and yes, I'll make sure I do some self-care. Thank you for sharing that. Taking care of myself so I'm not mentally and emotionally maxed out. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Whether it's with your riding, whether it's with your you know, life in general, you know, with me, like I think, well, taking care of myself is eating healthier, but maybe there's other things around taking care of myself that'll allow me to focus on eating healthier. And there's been a lot of things I've brought into my life. So it all kind of ties in together. And self-care is a huge thing, and being kind to yourself, um, and being curious about what's going on with, and letting go of all the judgment. So change can be tough. And I highly, I'm going to offer that, with this new year coming up, and in general, don't look for huge things that you're going to do. Be gentle, be kind to yourself, make small changes, and they will start building on one another. Understand what's going on underneath your habits, what's causing it. Again, doing that with kindness, curiosity, not judging, not saying, oh, I'm so, there's something so bad with me because say for me, I, my, I choose to eat too much, or I choose higher calorie foods, or I choose junk foods. It's more like recognizing it and going, okay, well, there's some places that I can make small changes, and they will all build on one another. Same thing in riding. So you're riding your horse, and you have a physical fear around getting hurt, and that really prevents you from moving forward. And you can say, well, how are some small changes? What are some things I can do? Maybe be more aware of what's going on with my horse, and noticing when my horse maybe gets a little excited. And in those days, I think, well, maybe it's time for a little lunge or more turnout, or ask someone else to ride my horse first. Just noting, being curious, paying attention to what's going on in you. Oh, when my horse is a little energized, I get tense. I can feel it in me. And then my horse accelerates with their energy and their tension. So is there something I can pause and do in that moment? What's the change I can make? Can I stop and do some breathing and relax? I talked about in a past video about doing body scans. Can I slow down and do a body scan that will help me relax and note what's going on? Just kind of be present. And then that maybe stops me being in such a fearful state, and allows my horse to be more relaxed. And you can then be in a more aware, present mindset to say, okay, do I ride through this? Is this just about me? Or do I need to get off and maybe lunge my horse? Or, maybe it is too windy and nasty out today. And it's okay to say, all right, I'm done with riding. I'll come back tomorrow and be, hopefully the weather will be better. Whatever it may be, let's say this is around, say, fear in a horse, creating the fear around the horse spooking you falling off or whatever. So just kind of going all over the place. I know a little bit with the idea of change, but again, getting back to not making huge changes, not beating yourself up if there's something going on, understanding it's something that's been wired into your brain and it needs to be shifted, but it takes time, it takes awareness, it takes kindness, it takes self-care. So think about that, particularly going into 2022. I know, again, we get into these big ideas about huge changes around the new year, and maybe it's just thinking about just being intentional about, I'm not going to big a very huge change, but I'm going to look at, look at myself and work on being more present so I can be more aware of what's going on, so I can make small changes and sustainable ones that I can carry through going forward. So anyway, have a wonderful rest of your day. Great talking to you. Thanks for the feedback. It was wonderful. And take care.